The Appalachian Mountains. Ancient, weathered, cloaked in emerald green, ridges stretched into the distance like a sleeping giant's spine. Sunlight dripped gold through the canopy, dappling the forest floor with warmth. This was Vivian's home, her heart. She knew the whisper of wind through the pines, the gurgling of hidden streams. The scent of damp earth and pine needles was a comforting embrace. Vivian had always felt most alive in the embrace of these woods. They were her playground, her sanctuary, her teacher. She spent her childhood exploring its hidden hollows and sun-drenched clearings. Each step was a whispered conversation with the earth, a deep connection to something ancient and powerful. But lately, a shadow had fallen across this idyllic landscape. The rumble of trucks, the clang of machinery, the acrid scent of chemicals, all spoke of a new presence, a threat to the very heart of her beloved mountains. Vivian was a child of the mountains, born and raised in a small town nestled in the heart of Appalachia. Life here was simple, rooted in the rhythms of the land. People knew their neighbors, shared stories on porches as the sun dipped low, their lives intertwined with the fate of their community and the surrounding environment. Vivian had always been a force of nature herself, fiercely independent, with a thirst for knowledge and a deep love for her home. She was known for her quick wit, her infectious laugh, and her unwavering commitment to protecting the place she held dear. She spent her days exploring the woods with her dog Scout, a loyal companion who shared her love for adventure. School had never held much appeal for Vivian, but she excelled in her science classes, drawn to the intricate workings of the natural world. It was here that she first learned about fracking, a method of extracting natural gas that involved injecting millions of gallons of water, sand, and chemicals into the earth. The potential consequences, contaminated water, air pollution, and even earthquakes, filled her with a sense of dread. She knew she had to act. The fight against fracking had ignited a fire in Vivian's belly. It wasn't just about science, it was personal. This land, these mountains, were in her blood, her very being. To see them threatened, exploited, felt like a violation of her own body. The stakes were higher than ever. She threw herself into the burgeoning environmental movement with the same passion she brought to everything she did. Attending town hall meetings, organizing protests, distributing flyers, her voice resonated with a conviction that belied her youth. She spoke of the sanctity of their water, the health of their children, the legacy they would leave behind. She spoke with the heart of a poet and the conviction of a warrior. Vivian's activism wasn't always met with open arms. This was a community grappling with economic hardship, where the promise of jobs and prosperity held a powerful allure. Some saw her as naive, idealistic, out of touch with the realities of their situation. But Vivian refused to be silenced. She knew the true cost of this so-called progress, the price they would pay for short-term gain. The conflict hit closer to home than Vivian could have imagined. It arrived one evening, a shadow falling across their threshold in the form of a man she barely recognized, her father. He had left when she was young, a distant figure she had only fleeting memories of. His return was a shock, a seismic tremor that threatened to shatter the fragile peace Vivian had built around herself. He had come seeking refuge, a temporary haven from a life that had taken a wrong turn. He spoke of starting over, of making amends. Vivian wanted to believe him, to embrace the possibility of a relationship she had always yearned for, but a gnawing unease settled in her stomach. Then came the revelation, delivered with a casualness that made her blood run cold. He had found work in the fracking industry, a job that promised good pay, a chance to get back on his feet. The irony was not lost on Vivian, the very industry she was fighting against. The force that threatened to scar her beloved mountains was now providing for the man standing before her. The ground shifted beneath Vivian's feet. The man she yearned to connect with, to forgive, was now inextricably linked to the very thing that threatened to destroy everything she held dear. The conflict was no longer abstract, a battle fought on picket lines and in town hall meetings. It was a raw, visceral struggle that raged within her own heart. She tried to reason with him, to explain the potential consequences of his actions, the damage that fracking could inflict on their land and their community. But her words were met with a frustrating mix of defensiveness and resignation. He spoke of the need to provide, of the limited options available to a man in his position. Vivian felt torn, caught between the desire to reconnect with her father and her unwavering commitment to protecting her home. Could she reconcile her love for him with his role in this destructive industry? Was it possible to separate the personal from the political, to compartmentalize her emotions in the face of such a stark moral dilemma? As Section 6, Echoes of Dissent. Vivian found solace and strength in her community, in the company of like-minded individuals who shared her passion for justice. There was Sarah, her childhood best friend, a budding journalist with a sharp mind and a thirst for truth, and Old Man Rivers, a grizzled Vietnam veteran who had seen the devastating consequences of unchecked greed and exploitation. They met in secret, in the hushed confines of the local library or the warmth of Sarah's grandmother's kitchen. They shared stories, strategized, offered each other support and encouragement. They were a motley crew, united by their love for their home and their determination to protect it from harm. Each of them carried their own scars, their own stories of loss and resilience. Sarah's family had been farming these lands for generations, their livelihood now threatened by the potential contamination of their water supply. Old Man Rivers had witnessed the destruction of ecosystems, the displacement of communities, the human cost of environmental degradation. Their experiences fueled their resolve, strengthened their belief that they could make a difference. Section 7. The Weight of the Mountains. The fight was taking its toll. Vivian felt the weight of the mountains themselves pressing down on her, the enormity of the task ahead. The fracking company, with its deep pockets and political connections, seemed like an unstoppable force, determined to extract every last drop of profit from their land. She witnessed the divisions within her community, the way that fear and uncertainty could erode trust and pit neighbor against neighbor. She saw the despair in the eyes of those who felt powerless to stop the relentless advance of the industry, their voices drowned out by the roar of machinery and the siren song of economic prosperity. Yet amidst the despair, she also found glimmers of hope, the resilience of the human spirit, the unwavering belief in the power of collective action. She saw it in the eyes of her fellow activists, in the faces of those who refused to be silenced, who stood up for what they believed in, even in the face of overwhelming odds. Section 8. Shifting Ground. Vivian realized that victory wouldn't be a single decisive battle, but a series of small, hard-won victories. A shift in public opinion, a new regulation, a community united in its opposition. It was about planting seeds of change, nurturing them with patience and perseverance. She learned to navigate the complexities of the political landscape, to build alliances, to leverage the power of the media. She discovered the importance of listening, of understanding the perspectives of those who didn't share her views. She realized that true change required empathy, compassion, and a willingness to find common ground. The fight was far from over. The fault lines that had appeared in her life, in her community, in the very earth beneath her feet, were a stark reminder of the challenges that lay ahead. But Vivian refused to give up hope. She had found her voice, her purpose, and she would continue to fight for the future of her beloved mountains, one step at a time. Section 9. The Long Road Home. The setting sun cast long shadows across the mountains, painting the sky in hues of orange, purple, and gold. Vivian stood on her porch, gazing out at the familiar landscape, a sense of peace washing over her. The fight had changed her, tempered her idealism with a healthy dose of realism. She had learned that the world was a complex and messy place, where right and wrong were not always clearly defined. She had discovered the depths of her own strength, the unwavering love for her home and the power of community. She had also come to terms with the fact that her relationship with her father would always be complicated, a delicate dance between love, disappointment, and acceptance. The battle against fracking was far from over, but Vivian knew that this was just one chapter in a much larger story. The fight for environmental justice, for a sustainable future, was a marathon, not a sprint. And she, along with countless others, would continue to walk that long road home, their footsteps echoing through the mountains, a testament to the enduring spirit of hope and resistance.